When we organize movement, or when we create a movement, anytime I make any kind of voluntary movement, there's this whole invisible or unconscious involuntary action that happens through the gamma system, and we looked at that last week when we talked about the gamma loop, how the gamma loop can initiate contraction of the intrafusal fibers, which will then make the alpha extrafusal fibers fire. And that's happening all the time in the body through the gamma loop. So that's how postural controls are working. And when we organize movement like that, it's very efficient. When we activate movement solely through the alpha system, it's often not as efficient. So let's look at this. You get my model to raise their arm up. I'm going to just ask them to resist. This person goes to the gym quite a bit, so I think they're quite strong. I'll push down, they resist. I'll just see how that looks. Yeah. Okay, and then I'll get you to put your arm back up, please, and just think about really reaching out through your arm, like you're really reaching across the backyard. And I'll keep reaching, I'll keep pulling down. Okay, and relax. All right. So it's a different quality of resistance. There's strength in the first one, but you can see I can manhandle it down fairly easily. With the second one, the contraction's much steadier. You don't get the jerky motions, and more sustainable and stronger, it seems. So that suggests that so the second one is movement organized through the gamma system. So the gamma fibers have contracted, and that through the gamma loop, they're now signaling to the appropriate alpha fibers to contract. In the first one, what seems to be happening is that it's alpha fibers going off pretty much on their own, and they're not differentiating specifically which muscles to fire. And so there's EMG studies that show when we just create the resistive movement, we're getting a lot of action also in the antagonists. So we're working against ourselves, like we're contracting in some ways the wrong muscles. We've got the agonists are working, obviously, but then also we've got this sort of undermining effect happening because we're not able to differentiate between the agonists and the antagonists. So we're basically working against ourselves. So it gets a little easier for me to push it down. With the second one, the gamma loop initiates the firing, and it's much more specific to the muscles that will resist the force. So the way that we set up the gamma loop there is to have the movement be a lengthening movement prior to taking up the load of resistance. And so we have a more efficient muscular pattern there. Okay?